Hey everyone, I'm Grant and welcome back to the channel. Today we need to button up just a couple of small things on my Wrangler, and then we're hopefully going to be doing some road testing. Now, I did mess with it some this morning. I wasn't recording it. Part of it was just because I was trying to learn the software for the Quick 6 controller. And there were a lot of small things I had to do and change and update the tune. And it was just kind of going back and forth constantly to figure those things out. But I think I have them figured out. This Quick 6 really is a very sophisticated piece of hardware, and I am trying to use it for a very small portion of its abilities. But with that said, the couple of things I need to wrap up real quick is I need to wire up the fan for the transmission cooler. I need to just kind of do a quick once over, make sure everything's buttoned up and bolted and I've tightened everything. I do have a leak on my MP231. I'm going to have to take off the rear drive shaft and pull the rear housing that goes around the yoke off again because I didn't seal it right and it is leaking just a little bit of fluid. So I'm going to top it off, make sure it's good, drive it today just to be able to put some miles on it, and I'll probably fix that at a later time. And I think I am going to have to adjust the exhaust at some point. Again, I'm not looking to do that today, but the other thing I want to do today, if we get everything else done and it's looking good, I want to install the adjustable wastegate on the turbo to see if that helps with EGTs, but I'm only going to do that if we are still having problems with EGTs. If we go for a test drive and my EGTs look great, I'm going to leave the turbo be. So with all that said, I'm going to get back to work. The main thing I need to accomplish before I take this out for the test drive is getting the transmission cooling fan all wired up. And I'm going to be doing that with a relay, a fuse, and there's actually a temperature switch on the AN adapter going into the transmission, and that's going to be what grounds out to turn it on and off the fan. Now, the reason why I have two of these harnesses is the harness for my electric fan on my radiator, I did a lot of bad things with this when I first got it together, and this harness is pretty beat up. So while I'm installing the relay for the transmission cooler fan, I'm going to go ahead and replace this one as well and wire these together. And that way I just know everything's good and I don't have to worry about it. So with that said, I'm going to get to work. Okay, real quick before I finish the wiring for the transmission cooling fan, I've gone ahead and just made a decision. I drove this a couple hours ago just around my property, but the turbo gets so hot it takes hours for this to cool down, and this is just now to the point where I can touch it. Because of that, I'm just going to go ahead and install the adjustable wastegate. And it's mostly because even if I don't need it, it's not going to hurt anything. I can change the springs in it, I can make it so the turbo will produce more boost. The only thing this will do, if anything, is help with my EGTs, which is something I'm really concerned about. So, before I move underneath to finish the transmission cooling fan wiring, I'm going to go ahead and figure out how to install this on my turbo. Now the trick is going to be to try to get this plate on enough that I can figure out how the adjustable wastegate is going to go on it. Now, the adjustable wastegate comes with a bunch of different springs. And you're not going to be able to see it because I can barely see it. But the spring in it right now is a yellow spring. When you buy these, they give you a whole bunch of different springs. The spring in this is a 12 to 14 PSI spring. The nice thing is they gave me 5 other springs depending on my setup. But I actually think 12 to 14 PSI is going to be pretty good. From my memory of driving this with the old setup, 12 to 14 was kind of the max I would normally see. Like, I would be able to squeeze 20 PSI out of it, but for a tiny little bit of time, and I never held it there. So. All right, everyone, we might have storms coming in my area, and as I do not have a top right now, I have everything back together, and we're going to go for a quick test drive. I will show you everything I did later. Even though it looks sunny right now, supposedly we have storms coming. So, yeah, I'm going to back this out, shut the garage door, and see what it does. I've got to work on the idle. boost, and my EGTs are dropping to 700s. I feel like I can just hear the boost constantly. Now we're going to do the short loop first, where I hit that one uphill, because that's where I usually build both a lot of boost, but also a lot of EGTs. And I'm curious to see how this thing reacts with the wastegate. I've forgotten how weird it is to drive a right-hand drive. I'm gonna have to get used to this again. It's been 10 months since I've driven this thing. 3, 2, 1. I'm not making more than 8 pounds of boost now. Something's up. I have a boost leak more than anything else. Something with my boost isn't happy. I'm doing a modified version of my original setup to lock out this turbo. If I was smarter, I'd let this cool down. I'm not smarter. Wow! You got me? Alright, not leaking boost anymore. That's good. Temperatures look good. EGTs look good. I'm at 5 pounds right now, at about 700 on my EGTs. I'm going to see if we can do 55. I'm in 5th. At 45, and my EGTs are holding. We're at 56, 2100 RPM. Easy EGTs holding at, well, 1040. That's a little high. We're in 5th gear. Do I care to go to 6th? Well, my EGTs are falling. 900. No errors on the controller. I know I've said this before, but this is now the best this Wrangler's ever driven with this swap. I think I have to go back to all my fueling and re-muck with the fueling. If anything, I think I'm going to try turning the fueling down. Just because I think I'm throwing so much fuel in it now that it's producing too much heat. That's all 16 pounds. I don't have a good way to mount a GoPro because I took away my center console. I've got to figure out how to mount one on the roll bar now. I like the manual shift. It gives you really good control. And I don't have to worry about the tune or the shift points or the downshift. I'm going to go back to the house and check on the coolant and everything. I never used to have coolant this hot. Alright guys, I'm going to let this cool off. And I'm going to check everything, and I might adjust stuff and go back out. So, bye. Alright everyone, I found the source of one of the biggest noises I'm hearing. My starter is literally falling off. So apparently when I clocked the starter to get into a position where it was convenient for me to hook up the battery wires and everything, I didn't tighten it up correctly, so I'm going to have to disconnect the battery, pull the wires off, pull the starter out, and re-torque everything. I think that is what's making a lot of the racket right now. I still have a lot of tuning to do. I have a lot of tuning to do on the engine. I have a lot of tuning to do with the TCU for the Ford 6-speed automatic. Quite frankly, I'm really debating going to an air-to-air intercooler because I think that would really help with my EGTs and air intake temperatures. But with all that said, we've made great progress. It runs again. It drives again. It will do 55 miles per hour, even though I'm on the threshold of all my thermal limits. It will do 55. So I am very happy with the current progress with this swap. I knew there was going to be tuning. I knew I was going to run into some problems, but these are all solvable. So anyway, it's YouTube. You know what to do. Take out more than you bring. Tread lightly, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.